the most frequently asked question on the YouTube channel. What kind of force feedback settings am I running? What is your field of view settings? What are your settings? So I'm just gonna go into all my settings that I'm currently using in Assetto Corsa Competizione. Let's go. So first thing I want to get into, I just updated this base, was a lot of work. I have the CSL DD with the booster kit, 8 Newton meters. If you want to purchase this as well, please use the link down below. That really helps me. You're not paying extra. I'm really happy with this wheelbase. It never let me down and I'm super happy with it. As settings wise, I'm gonna have to disappoint a lot of people. I'm using the default settings. So I will show you. This is basically my settings. Steering wheel. I have the Formula 2.5, which I'm also very thrilled about. Pretty expensive, but yeah. Tuning setup. Have a look. This is current updates that I have. Time of recording. Settings. Oh, whatever. So, and this is the update. That's what I'm using for the steering wheel. Now the reason why I am not doing like strange things with these settings is because I really believe that the engineering team of Fanatec has more knowledge than me changing up these settings, and I get so used to it. I really believe the default settings is 9 out of 10 times the proper choice. Before I had the Fanatec wheelbase, I had this one, the Thrustmaster TX with this steering wheel, and also with these settings I just ran default settings. So if you have another wheelbase, a lot of time default setting is good, but yeah, you're gonna have to figure that out yourself. Now we get into the game settings of Assetto Corsa Competizione, and again, nothing really special, just the default settings. The only thing is that obviously in the Fanatec settings I have the full gain, like the maximum power, and in the game I'm only using 55%. And that's because my arms are really thin, I'm not so strong. No, that's not the reason. I push it on 55 because when I have 55% gain, the force feedback will never hit its maximum when we go through very like corners when we have a lot of speed, let's say Aru Spa. If the force feedback meter goes red, that means that yeah, it's clipping. Yeah, that's what clipping is, and this is preventing that. So I have 55, but you can also go a bit higher. I get all the information from the wheel. It's a lot of times it's still stronger than me, so if there's like a bump or like a curb or whatever, it will actually yeah, it feels really nice, and it's default, so that's it. And again, Assetto Corsa Competizione, Fanatec, they probably have a better knowledge of how this should feel than I do. No, let's say. I also want to get into the buttons. I'm gonna take this off again. Do I gonna take it off? Yes or no? Yes, I'm gonna take it off. I have this steering wheel. Bruh. So I have this V2.5 Formula steering wheel, and I'm gonna explain the controls that I use in racing with all that stuff. Now, important to note, I have a lot of buttons, yeah, and I was saving up for this because I really like all these buttons and they all have a function. But if you don't have a very expensive steering wheel, I would just make sure you got your ABS, traction control and brake bias. Those values I would want to have on my steering wheel as you are beginning, as you don't have a lot of buttons. Now I'm gonna explain what my settings are, but before we get into that, I wanted to shout out the sponsor of this video, Coach Dave Academy. They have an awesome product called the Delta app. It is very good for your setups in ACC and iRacing, and there is also a course, Never Lift, and the subscription if you get it like the monthly, you have all these products to choose from, and it's a really good baseline to start racing, having the perfect setup in dry, wet conditions, and also their meta setups. It's absolutely unbelievable what they offer for this just like small subscription. So go check them out, link down below. I have the ignition and the starter on these two buttons. And I have the flasher I have on that button. Then on this one I have the cycle wiper, so it's going to be not on or off, but like the first time I hit it, it's going to be slowly, then the next time it's going to be fast, and if I hit it like 3 or 4 times it will switch off again, so it cycles through. And that's the same story for the lights I put on these buttons, and these outside buttons I use for the indicator lights. Now, I don't have a pit limiter. That's I let the game do that automatically. And if I go to further settings, yes. So on this button up, I can switch to my pit stop display. And if I put it down, I go to the electronics display. I'm gonna explain a little bit of this electronics display in a bit. So, and on this button, I have the brake bias, up and down. And on these rotating buttons, I have actually the traction control and the ABS. So I always use like ABS 2 for a whole lot of cars, and traction control most of the time also 1 or 2. Sometimes 3 when I don't feel like it. Then what we have left over here on this button, I have my VR center. So when you're driving VR, for people that don't know, let's say I'm in the car and I'm sitting all the way like this. I put like this position, I recenter my VR, and then the image will be exactly as I'm sitting in the car. And these two buttons I use for standings real time and standings overall. And of course we have the shifters. So I want to get into the electronics in game. If you have absolutely almost no buttons on your screen, this is what I would do. So let's say you have almost no buttons on your steering wheel, then I would do this. The next thing, if I roll down this button, these are my car electronics, and you can also choose on your steering wheel for up, down and left, right, and then you don't have to have a button for the brake bias, you don't have a button for the ABS, traction control, engine map, or traction control cut, engine map, and then rain lights and whatever. Everything you can switch on from this menu. So that's also what you can do. Then you only have to do up and down and you have everything here. I still use this sometimes if I want to get like another engine map, what almost never happens. Also the rain light, I use it sometimes for the rain light. I don't have a button for the rain light. So yeah, this is something that I would do if it don't have like any buttons, right? Look, and look, now I'm driving. Now I'm going to that pit strategy. Over here I have the overall positions. Here I have the real time and indicators, everything. So now we go to the field of view, because I have so much people asking me of field of view. The image that you're seeing now, this is basically what I use as my favorite camera if I'm on the flat screen. I'm gonna go on a flat screen more, but that's another story. The distance between my steering wheel and the screen is about like, I don't know, 48 centimeters or something. And if I look at my screen right now, I really feel like I have like a proper distance. I only have a single curved 32-inch screen, like 144 Hertz. Then I go to the view settings, and these is the settings that I use. And I have the lock to horizon to 0. And the mirrors, this is just default. Most of it, all of it is default. And this way I really feel it's the proper way. So I'm not saying these are the best settings in the world. There's probably a lot to do with it, as I'm only like most 95% of the time I'm driving in VR, so I don't really care about it, but sometimes I do, and this just feels normal to me. Now, if you have some comments on this, or maybe you will say to me like, dude, this is completely wrong what you're doing, also really let me know in the comments. It's really important for me. And also what I like to know, if you do want to see a video about my sim rig, because I have a completely custom built sim rig. It's adjustable in all the like sexy ways you can imagine. So if you really want to have a look at like how my rig is like a rig tour or whatever, also let me know or leave a like in the comments. Thanks man for watching, really appreciate it.